It's July 12th, and it just rained about an hour ago, which is great news because before that I was putting down some Jadam liquid fertilizer, pretty much undiluted, and yeah, that'll help it kind of soak down and bring a party for some worms, soften some soil at a deeper level. This is my marginal land. The trees to the west. But yeah, corn, some cucurbits. We've got some green, nice green looking corn. Kale is on its way out. Too hot, it says. Over there, let's zoom in a little. Those are ones that just got planted on top of the soil. That was when I did the mounds run, did a sort of line here. And yeah, that's already quite big. So things are looking good with that. Gave it a little JLF. Okra is coming up and looks just fine. A few little nibbles here and there on the leaves, but generally looking good. Here is some bare soil. This is soon to be covered. Planted some squash here. Each one of these mounds is a little squash. You can kind of see. There's one. There's one. There's one. Anyway, yeah, so I'm just kind of taking advantage of what some free space that I have here in the garden. You know, it being kind of almost the middle of July, you know, a good question is, you know, once potatoes and things like that are done, what's the next move, you know? What can you pull off as sort of a summer, late summer kind of crop? Because around here, it's just still too hot for a lot of stuff. But you'll see that some stuff works and some stuff doesn't. You know, I'm letting some lettuce bolt here. There's some more stuff that I planted the other day. It's my main kind of big patch of moschata squash. That is Tahitian melon, I think that's what it's called. But it's like a butternut type squash. Don't be deceived by the melon name. Patty pans, looking good. They're all yellow this year, I was thinking. I don't know why last year some were yellow and some were green. It's the same batch of seeds. This is named variety, so to speak. A lot of this stuff is just kind of whatever comes up. This is the less wild area of the garden. This is the more high light. Just planted out a bunch of, these look terrible, just stuff that I forgot about, basically, you know, some cucumber starts that then, you know, one thing led to another, and I don't know. So we'll see if they make it. They might just wither. Here is a nice big patch of melons. We'll see who reigns supreme. There do seem to be some bigger ones, some that are a little more vigorous than others. Here in this patch, this is where there used to be potatoes and onions. I'm doing sweet corn and whatever else I can get to happen. So there's the sweet corn's coming up. That will do just fine. I pre-soaked the seeds, and you know, sure enough, they come up quite quickly. And just keeping things covered. I think that, although I'm not following my own advice here, keeping it covered is the way to go. Let me show you what I mean by not following my own advice. Here's some more. This is some Maximas that I'm trying to do mid-season, which is one technique people use if they are dealing with the squash vine borer. And yeah, they're coming up. I think these will do, I think these are actually going to do fine. I think my problem previously was starting them in cups all the time. Something about that I just don't think works. As long as there's no squash vine borer. Yeah. The more I start to look at that side of the garden, the more I'm starting to think that, just let nature figure itself out and take what you get. But anyway, yeah, things are looking really, really cool right now. After the rain, the fertilizer, there does seem to just be kind of a glow about the garden. You can sort of see it in the plants. And that's great. Watermelon Grex. A volunteer squash plant. We'll see what kind of squash it yields. Oh, good. It's a longish one. A kind of zucchini. That's a zucchini. Peppo. See Peppo? I knew it was a Peppo, but a little late in the season, I know, to be starting this stuff, but hey, I looked it up, there are 100 frost-free days left. And, I'm looking for tough stuff anyway, so let's just see what happens. The timing of fertilizer today was really good. It was cloudy. Okay, so this is the cucumbers, and then this is the saved seeds of Chinese cabbage. So it does look to be like an interesting mix. Yeah, and we'll see if any of it survives. It'll kind of work itself out, but it is definitely growing. Some pretty big ones like right here. It's hot. I don't think it likes weather like this. It might bolt, which would be interesting. If it did that, then there would be this whole other population of seeds living. That would be interesting. Growing kind of low. I see there's a few things like arugula that I've planted out that goes to seed pretty much right after it sprouts. So that's interesting to think about. Doing 2 successions. I've got a cucumber that I forgot about, or I didn't really see until it was too late. So a big cucumber like what you would use to save seed from. And I'm drying that out right now. I might just plant it this season. That could be interesting to see what happens. Seed that is grown out in the same season that it's planted. Who knows? Anyway, yeah, over here, Tetsukabuto doing just fine. Mixed in with whatever else. One thing that is kind of struggling is this Maxima. Again, I know it's just weak. Here's some. I don't recall ever throwing seeds out around here, but there's 2 new guys, so yoroshiku onegaishimasu to you. There's another one around here too that I saw. Oh yeah, over here. There's another one that's off to the races. It's creeping around this way. Jerusalem artichoke. Mondai nai desu ne. No problem here. Doing fine. Sunflower. There's a Moshada. There's a Maxima that's actually looks okay. Here's some stuff that's kind of popped up on the side there. That's doing fine. Off to the races. I gotta think of something else to say besides off to the races. They're surviving on their own, I guess is what I mean, is what I want to say. Moshadas. Late entries, but entries nonetheless. They'll live long enough to reproduce. Let's take a look at these delicatas. Shaping up, you know. There's two on this one already. Might be time to pull. Well, no, not quite. Yeah, but they're off to the races. going fine. Sort of a mix of Moshada. Oh yeah, there's what's called candy roaster, candy stick, something like that. Another one over here. That's a delicata there. That's cool. Yeah, this is all going to be overrun with Moshada and hopefully some Maxima in the next couple weeks. So stay tuned. It's July 14th. Beautiful day in the garden. Don't like, don't subscribe. This is not from YouTube. This is not from the internet. This is just human to human, sharing experience and ideas. Word of mouth, baby. We are in the garden. This is zone 6B, Kentucky. We have been blessed with plenty of rain. Things are growing. Dogs are barking. This is that patch that I seeded out after harvesting potatoes from. And yeah, all sorts of stuff is coming up. So this looks good, not too weedy yet. It is a race between these plants and the weeds. Whoa, there's a lot of stuff going on there. We can see some brassicas coming up as well. Those bigger ones are the daikon Grex that I planted, so a mixture of daikon seeds to see what works well around here. And not quite as full over on this side, but if you can train your eye to see these things, to see what plants look like in their various stages of their life cycles, then you're on your way to becoming a good natural farmer. That's my take. Got a little landscape fabric down there. That's just kind of a pause button to plan into later. Long term, I'm trying not to use it. Here's some bare ground. I'll probably start covering this maybe today. I'm gonna mow the lawn and maybe cover it with some lawn clippings. But as you can see, this was my sort of named varieties. I think these are all Japanese style kabocha, which we'll see. I think the package is mislabeled as C. Maxima. Just looking at the seed, it looks a lot like a C. Moshada to me. and they tend to grow everything else that I've seen so far. Anyway, so these are those kind of name varieties. So I'll probably try and do a Grex of just Japanese style Moscato because they look cool and taste good. Corn is in various stages of its life here in the corn Grex area, the corn landrace. Leaf color is pretty good. They could use probably a little more. Not as dark. It's not as dark as the corn you see on the when you're driving down the highway in the Monsanto fields. But that's okay. On a certain level, I do want to be breeding for a certain toughness, an ability to scrounge for your own food. So, going good. Okra, really spreading out, doing its thing. I may do a little bit of sort of trimming of those just so that if there's any okra that's coming up underneath other okra, it does get a chance. But yeah, this is just surface sown. I think I maybe threw some grass on top of it. You can see those are some smaller guys. A few who are a little bit later along in the process, but happy to have them here. C. Moscato starting to trail around here. So one thing I kind of want to talk about today is just sort of maintenance while things are growing. Because as you're walking around, as you probably will want to do, you can do, just tip nature's balance in just a little kind of subtle way to get hopefully big results. That's what we're looking for, is strategies where we can really sort of tip the scales in our favor using timing and a few human hacks. Timing, perhaps a sharp blade to give advantage where advantage is to be given. That's looking terrible. I really think that planting straight into the ground with any cucurbita is the way to go. The results seem to speak for themselves, at least as far as how I am trying to do gardening. Over here, the soybean is getting eaten up, so I tempted fate. Something is coming. That's cool, though. Some stuff is there, right? Some of these older soybean plants are doing okay, so perhaps it just has to do with timing, genetics. Some sesame's coming up there. That's looking good. But so this is a bunch of the Chinese cabbage seed that I've recently acquired, and like a kid in a candy shop, I wanted to use it. Just wanted to use it up. It's like, does it germinate? It certainly germinates, as you can see. Nice fresh seed. And I mean, I guess, there's definitely a bunch of holes in the leaves, but I think these are going to make it. We will see if they bolt. That's sort of the big question. Kale mixed up in here as well. That's the Siberian kale, Napus kale. You can see it's got various degrees of sort of jagged leaf. Rabbits like the soybean. I assume it's rabbits. I don't know. Lots of little carrots coming up, though. So that's good. Yeah, carrots are tricky to timing. I hope these don't bolt. I hope it is, in fact, carrot and not an infestation of Queen Anne's lice. I guess we'll see. Another soybean, or not soybean, sesame plant there. So some of these, I mean, these are pretty big, and that's, you know, that's maybe like, so a plant like this, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks old. Put a little JLF out here. But this is not a, not a high fertilizer area. We're good to go here. Mustard is growing. That's that there. Let's take a look at the watermelon. Watermelon Grex. Watermelon population. I may have to put a log on that to kind of keep it away from the watermelons. This has been going good. I've been giving it fertilizer, and it's starting to look nice and viney. So, cheers to you. Hopefully we get something, some watermelon. It'll be, you know, a little hairy this year because this is the Grex, and don't really know what we'll get out of it, but we'll see. Here's two Japanese style Moshada Maxima, as the case may be. Cucumbers. This is a recent planting. These aren't too old. But yeah, under the story here, this is all the Chinese cabbage Grex, so in its various forms. Maybe a little bit of kale in there too, it seems like, yeah. And that's kind of giving a little shade to the cucumbers. They are hitching a ride to on this watering, it seems. Doing fine. So hopefully these cucumbers will come in, start producing. JLF straining. Just wanted to show you my setup here. Here I'm just using kind of 2 grades of filter, and that's it. I'm going to take this and pour what comes out. This is what it looks like when it's been mixed around a little. So this is pretty thick. So I'm going to maybe dilute it to put it directly on some plants. It's about 9 a.m. in the morning. I don't really get out here too much to do videos. Occasionally come out to do a little early morning watering. Just wanted you to see that dragonfly on that corn leaf there. Anyway, I'm up in the morning doing a little watering. Here you can see the usually shaded part of my garden is getting lots of light. So when it does get light, it's nice and full. Plants coming in. Cucurbitas coming in within the corn. That's good. Oh yeah, what I wanted to show you was stuff like this, which kind of struggles to pull up from the grass. Let me show you kind of what's going on. When you find one of these, you're typically inclined to think, oh, you know, this is just some sort of pepo that's not really happening, not really doing that well. But if you kind of pull it up, you can see that the stem is really elongated because it's been trying to push up through the grass. These will pop up and really get going if you just give them a little advantage. And you can see that. Here you can see that with this one. These are ones that got very slow starts if you're used to looking at the normal life cycle of a pepo. So what I'm doing now is finding ones like that and just popping them up a little. Put a little grass down around them or something to give them a little isolation from other weeds, a little more access to light. At the end of the day, I think it's really all about access to light. Here's one here. Gonna kind of stomp down here. And then maybe next time I have some grass or something, I'll make a little ring around it.